Hey guys, what's going on? So following game 4 of the NBA Finals, Celtics didn't do nearly enough to get the sweep. Was their worst performance, I think, probably of any game in the playoffs so far yet. And now I think even though the Celtics are leading 3-1, you do have a little bit of life being put to the Mavs actually having a chance in this and really coming back from that 3-0 lead. And I would say the fact of how disproportionate that game 4 was, that is looking a little bit more likely as opposed to the Mavericks just winning a close game. And I think what is really worrisome to the Boston Celtics is that you have that recent Porzingis injury, re-injured or had a new injury in game 2, wasn't able to play in both game 3 and now game 4. They're saying he is day to day, but I think most likely he's out of it just given the nature of the injury. It's possible if we get later into the series they'll try and bring him back out there, but I just don't see him being completely up to par, and I think that really hurts looking at the difference in how the Celtics have played both with him and without him in this series. But on the other hand, just looking at the odds, the Mavericks really only have about a 1% probability of winning the finals after being down 3-0 because of the other 156 teams in playoff history that haven't been able to come back from that 3-0 deficit. It really would have to be the Mavs making history to pull this off. But just going back to game 4, really a blowout game, and I think that's surprising. Mavericks winning by 38 points, and when you compare it to the other games, you have the Celtics winning game 1 by 18 points. Pretty comfortable lead there and win for the Celtics, but game 2 and 3 a lot closer, both with that 7-point differential. And I think even looking at game 3, you didn't have Porzingis and you had Luka Doncic fouling out in the fourth quarter, so that really could have gone either way. I think the Celtics were only up by 3 points before he fouled out. And then in game 2, that's probably around the time where Porzingis had that injury. So you really see a big difference there in the turnouts of those games, and then now how it's looking in that last game. And really, I think what did it for the Mavericks wasn't just Luka and Kyrie, although they had a pretty good start, but they finished just about at their average or a little bit under. You had Luka at 29 points, Kyrie at 21, but you had 11 from Lively, you had 10 from Exum, and then 15 from Hardaway coming off the bench. So he'll likely get some more playing time in game 5. Celtics really looked flat. You only had 15 from Tatum, 10 from both Brown and Holiday. And I don't know what really is more surprising, either the fact that the Celtics allowed 122 points or that they were shy of 85, because that's really, I think, surprising for such a powerhouse team. But really, they just have such a comfortable lead in the series overall. I think it would have been better for the Mavericks to pull out either game 2 or game 3, because going to game 5, that 2-2 difference is really huge compared to being down 3-1. But I still think game 5 is pretty significant for the series. I think it might be one of the hardest games for the Mavericks to win, but I think if they are able to pull it off, regardless of that 1% probability of them winning the whole series, you do have game 6 at home. I think that's a lot more promising for the Mavericks. And then if they were able to rally and win these next 2 games, at game 7, it's really anyone's game. And if the Celtics have lost 3 in a row, I wouldn't like their chances at that point. But then again, has never been done before in the history of the NBA. Probably the closest thing, you have the Cavaliers coming back 3-1. Looking at other sports, you have the Red Sox, who did it in the World Series in 2004, being down 3 games and then came back to win it all. So I think it would be really interesting to see the Mavericks come back and turn it around. I think at the very least, you want to see it go to game 6 or game 7, because that's really where that excitement is. So we'll see on Monday and maybe even after that how it goes, but feel free to let me know your thoughts on the series if you think the Mavericks have any chances of pulling it off. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you later.